Getting traction as an artist is hard. Why am I not getting hired? Why is no one liking my work? Or my stuff seems cool, I've been practicing, it looks a lot like what's trending on ArtStation, but the good stuff, the opportunities just are not materializing. I was lost in this wilderness for a long time, and today I'm going to show you some things that made a huge difference for me, that led art industry employers start seeing me as a valuable input into their business equation instead of seeing me as just some dude painting stuff. Today we're going to make your work valuable in the industry, how to think about your work from an industry perspective, how to demonstrate that your skills equal money downstream for a project, and most importantly, how to create portfolio pieces that really show that. I'm going to design and paint this really awesome bird rider to try and showcase as much of this as I can, so hang out with me for a while. This will change how you paint. This entire way of thinking kind of stems from this traumatic core memory I had as a college art student. I was a graphic design major, and as a senior we had to put a portfolio together, and there was this cool thing. They would have actual graphic design business owners come in from the area and critique our work. It often led to job opportunities. So I had my portfolio put together. It was totally all over the map, and there were a few things in it that I was proud of, but it was mostly just I was making art for art's sake that I thought was cool, and I submitted this beautifully presented book to these business owners. And I remember one guy flipping through in deathly silence, and he said, "The art is cool, respect for the artwork, but I have no idea how to make money out of any of this." That just really has rung in my ears for decades now. And that's the whole point of this video, is if we're just making art that seems cool to us, that inspires us or gets us excited, if we're filling portfolios with just kind of pretty but purposeless art, nobody's just going to show up with a bag of money and say, "Great work, give us more." It has to make sense as part of a business equation. The stuff that was in that portfolio was for me. It was stuff I was doing to satisfy my own personal creativity. All art has value. If it's for you, if it's a throwaway sketch, if it is that sort of just cool for cool's sake art that I'm kind of like railing against in this video, that's still valuable. But the point is, I wanted badly to be a professional artist, and I needed to fundamentally shift the way I was thinking about all of this, away from pleasing me as the primary audience to satisfying an industry. No one is going to just pay me to sit and draw the things that I want. I needed to kind of shift so that my work would be valuable to someone else, art as a business input. They're going to make more money than that off of your artwork. And that's awesome. So while all art has value, let's talk about ways we can make your art more industry focused and the value that it demonstrates, and how to create those portfolio pieces that really show that get the attention of those hiring art directors. Okay, ways we can drive up the industry value of our work. The first one is solving problems. Now, this is something you hear a lot, problem-solving art. What the hell does that mean? So in a way, while we are drawing and creating beautiful images, what you're really being paid for is to think. Now, you can see this. It's sort of difficult to describe, but when you look at two pieces of art where one is doing this well and one isn't, it is very obvious. You can see that tremendous amount of thought and research, kind of the artists who did their homework. That's art that has real value, something like a robot that looks very plausible in terms of engineering. The joints, the pistons, the hydraulics echoes some sort of real-world machine. That has value. That anchors this as something that looks real, that shows us a bit about how it works. And that kind of problem solving usually boils down to research. What kind of stuff are you really good at, like going out on the internet and just collecting cool visual things? Your visual library. What stuff is just already in your short-term memory? What little things have you collected during your unique life that you can just bust out in a sketch really quickly? There's also storytelling. Is this image just simply cool or pretty, or is it going deeper than that? Is it showing us some kind of a narrative event? Is it just implying something? This could be just a character that has stains on their clothes, or a certain kind of war paint, or little tally marks on space armor to show that that space marine has been in a lot of battles. So when you hear about visual problem solving, that's a big part of it. How can we show that thought? How can we show up showing that our homework was done when we submit that work, and we weren't simply kind of in la la land trying to create something that was neat to us? We're actually doing this purposefully, trying to advance a project and create a more valuable portfolio piece. Next, let's talk about a huge value add, the clever little whatever. I love this. Now, this is something I often will experience during a movie trailer or a game trailer. It's just that little thing that makes you go, oh, that's so clever. Look what they thought of. I remember thinking that the first time I saw BB-8 in a Force Awakens trailer. Just, oh my God, I love that. It's a droid. It looks just like R2-D2. It's made from the same shape language, but a rolling sphere. Like, I never would have thought of that. How clever. Other things, anytime like a spaceship transforms in some unexpected way. I remember seeing the Na'vi jumping across the floating mountains back in 2009 and having that same kind of experience, that clever little extra unexpected thing. Often the surprise, the little quick wow factor that captivates the viewer's imagination. That's what we're being paid to do as concept artists, is to create that little unexpected thing. Now, how do we actually do this? Does lightning just strike your brain? Not really. You may have a few brilliant ideas just filed away in your mind that you're ready to use one day, but that's going to be a finite thing. For me, as part of my concept art process, I consider this the push. This is when I have my idea that I basically like, and I kind of come back and say, what can we do better? What can be new about this? What opportunities are we leaving out there if we just move ahead with it as is? Does this look like something we've seen a million times before? Or could I add some new clever little twist? That is actually something you can really pick at in a sketch. You can find ways to add, you can iterate, you can make something just more and better. It becomes this replicatable process rather than something that you just have to wait for lightning to strike. So with our bird writer here, there are a few things where I started with just a generic dude riding a bird. So this is something that I like, that I just think is inherently cool. But there are a few clever little things that we will add in our next topic, which will be world building. World building, one of the great tasks that a concept artist is called upon to do, is to create the visual identity for an entire world or even universe. And on the surface, that seems like an incredibly daunting task. And I mean, it kind of is. Like, okay, today your job is to come up with an imaginary universe. Have fun. Whoa, like, okay, that's a lot. Now, we can make that massive task smaller with the 80-20 rule. You may have heard of this before, but it's where we ground our world very heavily in something that already exists. 80% familiar, and then 20% extra. So looking at what I've painted with this so far, hopefully you're kind of seeing where we are grounded. And this is kind of my clever little twist on this that I was hoping to do too. Rather than just making this dude riding a bird like Joust, I thought I would make this much more of like a livestock, agricultural type of thing, where maybe in this world, this species of birds is like central to the existence, the economy, the whole way of life of the people who ride them and care for them and breed them and all of this stuff. So instead of just making like a knight on a steed, which I think would still be kind of cool, I wanted to make this much realer thing that would really build a very real world. Because I think if you see livestock like a cattle ranch or even ostrich farmers more aptly to this, that feels more real. It goes deeper. And once I started pulling on that thread, it led to all these other cool details, like the little tags I'm going to put on the wings of these birds. Maybe we have the babies who just hatched, who are following the mother along during some like cattle drive equivalent type thing, where we have to transport our new birds from ranch A to ranch B. Our guy has a rifle. Guns are cool. They tend to make concept art look cooler just as a freebie, but maybe there are predators during this crossing or some other larger bird that can pick one of our little chicks off. We can't have that, so our guy needs a gun. We can also do things like showing how there are some cases behind the guy, egg cases. So not only do we have to bring the chicks safely from point A to point B, but there are eggs involved, or maybe we're picking the eggs up and bringing them back. It becomes this whole living thing in this world that goes much deeper than simply cool knight riding a bird. So that's that like next level of clever thing and world building that I'm hoping to achieve with this, just with a few little changes of including the baby chicks, including the egg case, including the little wing tags that remind me very much of how like cows have tags in their ears. I can remember seeing a few times in my life how ranchers know that calves will follow their mother, so they sort of use that to help keep the herd in line. I originally thought I would put little ropes around the baby chicks' necks or something to lead them, but I realized that little baby birds follow their mother. It's like the only thing they need to know is just stay right next to mama bird. So let's use that. Let's make this all part of something realer that's based heavily in real world observation, but it's also 20% fantastical. Like, as grounded as this feels, hopefully, this is this whole awesome world I've created, right? Like, what do the rest of these people look like? What does Bird Rider Village look like? Suddenly it gets the imagination going, and every bit of machinery and clothing and little bit of like bird echoing I put in the rider's clothing just tells you more about the culture, builds a whole world, right? I could talk forever about this, but that's the idea. That's how we can add value to something that, while it could just be at surface level, like, oh, cool, bird rider, got it. Let's go deeper than that. Let's add value. Let's make this an entire world-building, extra little clever thing. Now, a sort of uncelebrated way that we can add value to a piece of concept art is just with the wow factor. So I'm betting you've heard this a million times. Concept art is not just about painting pretty pictures. And I'm kind of saying that myself here too. It's about visual problem solving. It's about all these other things, but not painting pretty pictures. It kind of is though, right? Like, we want these things to look awesome. We want to paint things that are beautiful and eye-catching. And I think there is even a place for exactly that within concept art, like real nuts and bolts concept art. Because often this isn't just being used as a way to problem solve or to establish a visual identity. It's being used as a way to get people excited, as a wow factor thing, to get investors convinced that this is a project that they want to back. Like, look, we have invested in our artwork. Like, look how polished this is. We believe in this project. Or just simply, oh my God, that's so cool. I love the way those feathers look. I love the way the gun looks, the shiny metal, the little weaponry, whatever. When we paint things to a high level of finish in an expressive, stylistic way, that adds value. So while a concept art portfolio shouldn't only be that, shouldn't only be pretty pictures for the sake of prettiness, there's also a place for that, which is why I always recommend that we have a good mix of both. We have like that feature, showstopper painting, and then all of the description, the world building, the sketches and iterations in the margins to show that you can do both as a concept artist. So paint the hell out of this thing. Let's make it as polished and cool and expressive and alive as we possibly can. But make it beautiful not as a replacement for a good concept, but as a way to support it, to enhance it. Just the sheer cool factor element can add a lot of value to our concept painting, so when somebody tells you concept art is not painting pretty pictures, tell them it is a little bit. I hope you found this helpful, guys. A subtle change in mindset about, are we painting for ourselves to make something cool just because we think it's cool? Or are we doing this for the industry? Are we doing it so that our client's project will have a greater chance of success? Problem solving, world building, and just adding that wow factor to get their viewers, their customers, their players excited, to get people on board, to get people fired up, and make the world that you create really resonate. When you can do that, when your portfolio really shows that, the good things that eluded me for so long and started happening finally can happen for you too. Now, for my next video, I want to dig into this a little bit deeper. I saw that Feng Zhu, who has been a huge influence on me in my concept art career, made his first new video in like 3 years a few months ago. It was AI related, but what he said that really stuck with me is that there are lots of concept art jobs out there, but it just seems like none of the artists in their portfolios are actually designing anything. So I want to do one more project specifically along those lines about sort of a form and function thing, because that's another huge piece that we can add. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, paint something cool today.